Now next we are going to look at preparation of insoluble salts. Okay, preparation of insoluble salts. We are just from looking at preparation of soluble salts. Now, how do we prepare insoluble salts? Meaning those salts that do not dissolve in water. How do we prepare them? This is simple. There are only two ways you can prepare the insoluble salts. A, it is by reacting a soluble salt plus another soluble salt. Yeah, so if you react two insoluble salts, it will give you an insoluble salt, plus another soluble salt. This is what we are going to have. Okay, so this is the first one, soluble salt plus any other soluble salt to give you an insoluble salt plus another soluble salt. So here, these are always mixed when they are formed. They are mixed. The soluble salt and the insoluble salt, they are always mixed. So you need to separate them using filtration method. The soluble one will go through the filter. The insoluble one will remain as a residue. Okay? So a good example is this. What reagents would you need to prepare the salt of barium sulfate? Okay, one. Then two, okay, so here is a question. If it's not clear, let me just try to put this one like this. These are the two questions that I'll use to explain how this one is used. Like one, what reagents would you need to prepare the salt of barium sulfate? Describe the process you can use to prepare a dry sample of barium sulfate. So I'll use these two questions to explain how we use this equation on top. Mind you, here you should know that preparation of insoluble salts, you can remember those mnemonics that I gave you. There was Sile, there was also what? There was also Bell. Okay? So this one was for silver chloride, this one was for lead chloride, then this one was for barium sulfate, and this one was for lead sulfate. These are the salts. These are the salts that are considered to be insoluble. Every time a question is asked in the exam about insoluble salts, it can either be silver chloride, lead chloride, barium sulfate or lead sulfate. Or if they want in the chloride group, that is group 7, they can also bring iodine. Iodine also produces insoluble salts. So a good example here, they have picked what? Barium sulfate, which is this one. We are going to use this barium sulfate to explain how to use this equation. Okay, let's begin now. Let's begin. How do we use this one? We can say, the question says, what reagents would you need to prepare the salt of barium sulfate? You ask yourself a question here. What salt do you want to produce? Of course, the salt you want to produce is barium sulfate. And this barium sulfate, is it a soluble salt or an insoluble salt? Indeed, the salt itself is an insoluble salt. So, which means you put it on this position. How do you put it on this position? You write barium sulfate. Have you seen? Plus, we don't know the other name of a salt. Then there is an arrow here. I have to know the reagents that we can use to produce this. So what you do, you have to separate these two. One of these came from here. One of these came from here. So these two, before they combined, one came from here, the other one came from here. So you have to put them back. This one on top must be the first one here, must be from here. So it will be barium. We don't know. Then plus, we don't know, but the sulfate came from here. Another soluble salt provided the what? The sulfate. Okay? So the first soluble salt provided barium. Then the second one provided what? Sulfate. So that when this one displaced this, it combined with this to form this. Have you seen that? Then this one and this one combined to form this one and this one. Have you seen that? So the first one is this, displaces this, it will combine with this to form this. Then this one will combine with this to form this and that. That's what is happening here. So how do we identify the barium salt here? You go back to the solubility rules. The solubility rules here, they say all nitrates are soluble, all chlorides are soluble except those, then all sulfates are soluble except those, then carbonates only that. So here the easiest way of identifying a soluble barium salt, you just get nitrates. We all know that nitrates are soluble, all of them. So the only barium salt that is soluble here is nitrate. So here you are going to put nitrate. You are going to put nitrate here. Have you seen it? It will be barium nitrate. Okay? Then here you say which other soluble salt is of a sulfate, or which sulfate is soluble. Sulfates, all sulfates are soluble except those two, except these two, all sulfates. So here you can put any sulfate. For instance, me, I've chosen sodium. I've chosen sodium sulfate. Have you seen that? I've chosen sodium sulfate. So barium nitrate is soluble. This is the one. Then sodium sulfate is also soluble. Have you seen that? Barium nitrate is soluble. Sodium sulfate is soluble, which goes with this. Then this one is the insoluble salt that we want to prepare, which is indicated here. Then, of course, this barium and sulfate combined to form barium what? Sulfate. Then this nitrate and sodium combines. Of course, start with a metal. This is a metal, this is a non-metal. So when writing here, you always start with a metal. A metal must be on top. Here the metal is what? Sodium. So you are going to write sodium. Okay? You write sodium, then this nitrate will be here. So this is the other soluble salt that were formed. So when you mix these, they are always, in a test tube or a beaker. Okay, you mix, you pour this one here, you pour this one here. So they will form a white precipitate. I'll show you a video. I'll share a video that shows the precipitation method. So a precipitate